Morning, everyone. Hope you are well, and thank you very much for your time this morning to join the Modality Systems webinar on our OneMeeting service and how that can help you enable Teams meetings first for all of your video conferencing meetings that you use. So I'll just give it a couple of minutes before we get started to allow anyone to join. But yeah, I'll just take the time to say thank you for joining at this time at all, at this time. And yeah, we'll get started in a minute. Okay, we've literally just a minute. We're hovering around the 8 attendees here, so we'll get started, not to penalise anyone for being on time. So thank you very much for joining. My name's Tom Scott. I'll be running the webinar today. Just before we get started, a couple of housekeeping bits. If you've got any questions throughout the webinar, then feel free to post them in the chat, and then if there's a convenient point to break to go through them to lead on to the next discussion, then we'll do that, and then there will be time at the end for questions then as well. So feel free to ask away, we will get to them. And the second thing, just apologies from me, if you hear a screaming child in the background, please don't panic. With the forced agile working from home, my son's just going down for his nap, so I'm sure we'll all make do. So the topic of the webinar today is our Modalities OneMeeting solution and how it can enable Microsoft, how it allows you to enable Microsoft Teams meetings for all of your video conferencing that you use today. So if this is the world where you're looking at moving to Teams in Microsoft Office 365, and wherever you are on the journey, then we can use OneMeeting to help you get to Teams and drive consumptions of Teams meetings. So Modality is an Office 365 Gold partner with Microsoft. Where we differ to a lot of providers of video conferencing in this space is that our intention with OneMeeting is to drive consumption of Microsoft Teams meetings. We want you to use your Teams Office 365 licenses that you've got as much as possible, and then help you integrate any legacy video meeting room systems that you've got with Teams or with Skype for Business, and then really drive adoption of that service. So the quickest and simplest way to do it is to give a simple, consistent user experience. That's both for people who can join the meetings, so people have a good experience using it. They don't waste any time at the start of the meeting trying to get the bridge working, trying to get rooms into it. A lot of the pitfalls we usually see. But also as well for scheduling them. So this is in a world where we're moving to self-service video conferencing, and that's integrating a traditional world where these meetings are possibly booked for people. So again, if you can give that simple join experience for people, the adoption will be a lot simpler and quicker than if it was a complex one. And then, not really a topic for this webinar, but as part of the work we're doing that this logically leads on to, then we also look at move any of your video bridging infrastructure into the cloud, and we have a full video managed service offering where we can potentially manage your video conferencing. But today's topic is focusing on the OneMeeting service and how that can get you up and running with Teams for all of your video conferencing meetings. So in short, our OneMeeting service is designed to ensure that customers stay on that Microsoft collaboration journey, that you use Microsoft 365 as part of that licensing. If you have Teams, if you have Skype for Business, really keep everything consolidated in one platform and use as much of that as you can. So there are natural use cases where you'd like to use another provider for certain types of meetings, but the goal of OneMeeting is to make the majority of that self-serve video conferencing Microsoft 365. So that's either Teams or Skype for Business Online, or soon to be Teams with Microsoft moving that over next year. So OneMeeting is our it's a globally hosted PEXIP infrastructure that we run at Modality. So PEXIP is a video bridging technology, and we use that technology to deliver the OneMeeting service. And it's got a variety of flavors of interop, and I'll talk through some of these on the call today. So the idea is that you can enable any video conferencing room, regardless of the vendor or which environment or network it sits in or which customer is using it, to join your Skype for Business or Teams meetings. So traditionally, it might have been the case that you were using Teams for one sort of meeting, but you had some other meeting rooms, some legacy meeting rooms, traditional standards-based video meeting rooms, so SIP or H323 rooms, that would not connect to Teams or Skype for Business meetings without a bridging mechanism to get them into the call. That's what OneMeeting does. So OneMeeting, so with a combination of OneMeeting and the Teams meetings in Office 365, you can now have people use Teams and Skype for Business as they usually do, but you can now also integrate any standards-based video conferencing room into your meetings. And it's really designed, as we said, to centralize all the online meetings on Microsoft. That one of the crucial things I spoke about, the scheduling experience at the start of this broadcast. OneMeeting retains the current Microsoft workflow for scheduling these meetings, so there's no need to invite specific meeting rooms to the call. There's no need to go off to facilities to have them book it for you. You just, as a user, click on new Skype meeting or new Teams meetings, and OneMeeting does the rest for it. And again, what that allows you to do is you give control to the user then to control the messaging that goes out to people when they schedule it. So if they know they're going to plan to use a video meeting room, they can put details of that when they schedule the meeting. But ultimately, they don't have to know about it to schedule a meeting that allows them to integrate those video meeting rooms. And as we've touched on a lot so far, this really is focused on aligning with any existing Microsoft Office 365 strategy that you've got. We're not trying to separate you off into a different stream. We're trying to focus on that Office 365 strategy and drive traffic into that world. And again, the value of having everything in one platform is, well, it's simple. It's simple in terms of the idea that you don't duplicate spend. You don't duplicate any unnecessary solutions when you've got one that will do it all for you. That's easier to manage, it's easier to control, and it's easier for your clients and customers as well. So you're giving a single user experience for everything, and you're driving all the traffic into one environment you can control. And using a combination of PEXIP and PEXIP hosted in Azure by Modality, and then the Microsoft Teams meetings in your Office 365 tenant, then you've got two globally certified enterprise solutions to deliver this. And finally, just to touch one final slide on the value, it really is putting the Teams meetings first here. So that the goal of OneMeeting is to make Teams the default selection for people to be their video conferencing meeting platform. So we again are lighting up. We're using Azure and the Microsoft certified interop solution using PEXIP. We can offer a WebRTC connection into Skype for Business meetings. So that very simply is the ability for someone who doesn't have Skype or Teams to join the meeting, but they don't have to install any plugin to get that working. They will just come in through their web browser and join the meeting and be able to participate in the Skype for Business meeting as if they had Skype, but it's all through the web browser. We have the ability, using some of our other tooling, to give you a customized branded experience with that meeting invitation. And this works with all standards-based video conferencing solutions. So standards-based is SIP or HTTP3 meetings. All of those this will work with. So that was a bit of the overview to the OneMeeting service. I'd just like to talk quickly about how it works with Teams and how it works with Skype for Business. So without going into the technical weeds at all, this is just to give you an idea of the meeting invitation that you would create when you create and schedule the Teams meeting and the Skype for Business meeting. So for Teams, OneMeeting uses the Microsoft Cloud Video Interop solution. So feel free to go and have a look at that if you haven't come across it already. It's a mechanism that Microsoft have built into your Office 365 tenant that enables you to deliver this OneMeeting service. So there's 3 certified providers for it, for Pexip, Pexip, Poly, and BlueJeans are the 3, and Modality run a fully managed Pexip service delivering this interop. So it's functionality that's native to your Office 365 environment. All that happens is you enable users for it, you connect the tenant to our service, and then when they create a new Teams meeting, then these are the details that appear to join with a video conferencing device. So from any video conferencing device, you dial that SIP address, and then that will prompt you to enter the conference ID. And you would join then into the Teams meeting. So it's really powerful if you've deployed Teams and you're looking for a transition tool potentially to get to Teams, but also to continue to use any perfectly good existing video conferencing rooms that you've got in your environment that you don't want to refresh yet, but you still want to enable their usage to join Teams meetings. And the final thing just to say is that these meeting details appear automatically when you click on the Join Teams meeting if you have the Cloud Video Interop service enabled. And the join experience, just very quickly to talk through, and this is the same for both Skype for Business and Teams, is that you dial the SIP, or we can provide you a HTTP3 address of a dedicated reception for you. So when we talk about reception at IVR, so in the interactive virtual reception for the video conferencing world, we simply mean a single address that you can dial that will come to your customized branded splash screen or welcome screen. It will prompt you to enter the conference ID of the meeting or the video conferencing ID if it's the Teams meeting, and then validate them, and then it will put you into the Skype or Teams meeting. So you'll sit alongside the native Microsoft users, native Microsoft Skype or Teams users in the call, but you are joining from a previously unintegrated video conferencing device. And this slide is just to give you an idea of how that architecture is made up. So one of the things we try to do with OneMeeting is very much push the native join experience for people. So by native join, if people have got Teams already, we want them to use Teams to join the meeting. If they've got Skype for Business or they're going to dial in through PSTN, though that join functionality is already there. We want to encourage that as much as possible. We see our OneMeeting service as a catch-all transition tool to enable these other endpoints to join into the same meeting. So again, being able to widen the use cases for using Teams meetings to maybe external companies that have video conferencing rooms, or to include video conferencing rooms in your environment that don't natively talk to Teams, we can integrate those in via the OneMeeting service. And To complete the OneMeeting picture, one of Modality's USPs that we can do is we can do the same thing for Skype for Business as we can with Teams. So the Teams meetings have that native cloud video interop, but Skype for Business doesn't. You need something in the middle to deliver that same user experience, which we can do using a combination of using our OneMeeting service. So we would give you a version of our custom invite plugin that you would install, that when the user clicks on new Skype meeting, then what comes up is the join details here to be able to join through a video, so a SIP address, and enter the meeting ID, just like the join experience here for Teams. And we can also use this technology to give a single click WebRTC join. So that means that someone can join in through the web browser, even if they don't have Skype for Business, and it will work as if they do. They don't need to download any plugins or do any other config other than enter their name and click join through the web browser. And again, the idea is the same here. The idea is that for Skype for Business, then Skype for Business users will be able to dial into the meeting here, and then using OneMeeting, we can give the integration for these other non-integrated users. So it's really, again, the message is trying to drive consumption of Teams and Skype for Business meetings and push as much as possible the native experience that you've got already, and then use OneMeeting as a catch-all for the other methods you've got in your estate that need to be able to join those meetings. They now can through OneMeeting. So I've talked a lot of technology there, but I just wanted to give a bit of background there. What I'd like to do now is just show you a couple of use cases of where we're doing this with customers and some of the challenges that we're seeing and how we're using OneMeeting to overcome those. So I've anonymized these. So the background for this case study is a customer is rolling out Microsoft Teams across their organization. They currently have approximately 7,500 users with Teams for chat and collab, and they're looking at enabling them all for Teams meetings as well. Some of those will have meetings plus PSTN, the PSTN dial element, but some of them will have no PSTN dial into the Teams meetings, but they will have the CVI service, the cloud video interop. And the reason, and the other background to add to this, sorry, is that they have a large legacy Cisco video conferencing infrastructure they use a lot of, and the goal was to integrate this into Teams to allow them to move away from that on-prem infrastructure to Teams based in the cloud. Where we used OneMeeting, we fixed, we gave them the ability for people to join Teams meetings from their existing Cisco meeting rooms via OneMeeting. And they also needed the ability to connect to WebEx meetings from their existing Cisco meetings. So that worked fine already. But what we did, we shifted that to our cloud hosted bridge, allowing them to retire their Cisco on-prem infrastructure. And as part of that, we were able to register their video conferencing endpoints to our OneMeeting service, and then also provide the bridging instructions into the bridging details for the different connections they'd like to do. So again, the goal was to get them to using Teams and to integrate their legacy Cisco video conferencing infrastructure, so they didn't have to refresh those rooms. They could keep using them whilst using Teams. And the final case study is that the customer is using Skype for Business on-prem. They're planning to go to Teams as the native platform for their online meetings, and they're currently replacing their existing video conferencing technology with Microsoft Teams room systems. So where we worked with a customer, they needed a way for clients to join using their own video conferencing systems to their Teams meetings. So that was OneMeeting. Again, we gave that ability for the customer's video conferencing room to join our clients' Teams meetings. They also needed a way for their existing internal video conferencing systems to join their Teams meetings, which again was both OneMeeting. And the interesting one was they needed the Microsoft Teams rooms that they were deploying to be able to dial into a legacy to a H323 video conference. So if you're with Microsoft Teams rooms, only dial SIP addresses by default. So what we were able to do was allow them to continue on this project, but we gave the facility through OneMeeting for their Microsoft Teams room systems to dial into H323 video conferences. So again, it was being able to transition to the new Teams-based world whilst retaining a lot of the old functionality that they would have required. The final thing I just wanted to touch on with regards to talking about Microsoft Teams room systems is that the Teams, if you're looking at Teams room systems, this is a slide to show where OneMeeting can help and some of the things that we've come across to help with completing that experience for Teams room systems. So out of the box, when looking at Teams, you've got two halves to the problem. You've got how do you get people into your Teams meeting, and how do you join other meetings from your Teams room systems. So the Teams room system will join a Teams meeting natively. So there's no need for OneMeeting at all to do that. You just invite it to the Teams meeting. You can join that meeting through the Teams room system. Coming soon from Microsoft, they announced at Ignite last year that there will be native integration with both WebEx and Zoom. So with both of those meetings, you'll be able to forward a WebEx meeting or a Zoom meeting invitation to a Microsoft Teams room, and then join natively from that Teams room in the same way you can a Teams meeting, which is a great step forward for Microsoft and these guys to work together to try to get to a more coherent world of interop with them. Where Teams room system or where OneMeeting can help with Teams room systems is that if you need to join a video conferencing meeting that only offers H323 join, then OneMeeting can help with that. And we can also, if it allow you to join any third-party video meeting that's not currently enabled or Microsoft have not offered native integration with. So Microsoft has said that they're building this as a platform. They're going to add providers to it. Zoom and WebEx are the two at the moment. But yeah, as they've said add more people to it. But where again OneMeeting can help as a transition tool is that if you have these requirements to join these other meeting platforms and you're looking at using Microsoft Teams room systems, OneMeeting can help you bridge the gap between the two. So yeah, just to wrap up from me, OneMeeting really is, it can be seen as the main way we talk about it is as a transition tool. So getting you, if you're not using Teams at the moment, it gives you a mechanism to get there, to be able to start to offer Teams if some of the blockers have been some of these use cases where you don't have that native integration. Or if you're currently using Office 365 and you're currently using Teams, it's a way to expand that experience and maybe offer out to clients the ability to join your meetings if they've got any old legacy video conferencing systems to join. So we do offer a trial of OneMeeting as well. So there will be in the wrap up in the email that follows on from this webinar, a link to be able to go and register for a free trial of OneMeeting to see it working within your environment. And then if you've got any more complex requirements around video conferencing, or would like to have a more in-depth discussion about any of our video meeting services, so the video managed services, any of the endpoint registration, or any of our software, then there'll be a link in that email to come and talk to us, and we'll happily have a conversation with you and see where we can help. So with 5 minutes to spare and no screaming children in the background, mercifully, then that was everything I was going to talk through today. But I'll just pause in case there's any questions that anybody has on any of the content covered today. Okay, there's no questions as of yet. So I can happily give you 4 minutes back and just say thank you so much for joining, guys, for taking the time to join us in these difficult times. Just to wish everybody to stay safe, and yeah, if you do think of anything that you'd like to ask, then feel free to reach out through the Modality website, and we'll happily get back in touch with you. But stay safe and have a great rest of the day.